Okay, we're back. This is session 3. Going to cover Song of Solomon, chapter 1, starting verse 9 through chapter 2, verse 2. We're going to cover that. That will wrap up our session 3. So let me read you some of the passage, and then we'll move right into it. Okay, this is the first time we hear the man speak in this poem. The woman has been speaking. The friends have spoke. This is the first time we will hear him speak. Listen to the words he says. Verse 9. I liken you, my darling, to a mare harnessed to one of the chariots of Pharaoh. Okay, so right out of the blocks, this guy proves, or so it seems, that men are just bad at compliments. Like, hey babe, you remind me of my bird dog. Like, that's no good. Like, hey, you remind me of a horse. That's not really working. You know, I would think, unless you know that Solomon was somebody who knew horses better than anybody. Solomon, if you read through the Old Testament, you find out he had stable cities or horse cities. And so there would be an entire population of people living in an area, and all they did was take care of Solomon's horses. He had horses imported from all over the place, but the best horses came from Egypt. And in Egypt, there was a Pharaoh. Now, if you remember back to the Exodus, where the Israelites were in Egypt in captivity, and then Moses came and told Pharaoh to let them go. The 10 plagues happened, and then finally Pharaoh relents, and he says, take your people and go. And they travel out into the desert. They get to this place to where they are standing in front of this enormous body of water called the Red Sea. And then all of a sudden behind them, over the hill, here comes this dust cloud, and it's rumbling. And as they look up, they can see that it is Pharaoh and his army coming after the Israelites to capture them or to kill them. He's got fire in his eyes, and he is furious. He has already lost his son because of the plagues. He has absolutely nothing on his mind but murder. And they are trampling down this hill after the Israelites. As you know, the story ends by God opening up the Red Sea and the people of Israel coming across, and then God closes the Red Sea back up on top of Pharaoh and his army. I want you to take a picture in your mind of what that must have looked like. That dust cloud racing down a hill after you. And right out in the lead was this stark white horse. Wild as it could possibly be. Dangerous looking animal. And here it is. Racing right for you. And the man, what sounds so insensitive, baby, you remind me of a horse, all of a sudden takes on this completely different turn when he says this. There is something about you and this relationship that scares me. I've opened up my heart and have become vulnerable to you, and you have the power at this moment to take me. And Solomon shares something very, very, very deep and personal. Remember, the last session was her vulnerability makes for his opportunity, gives him this opportunity to step in, but it works vice versa. It works the other way around. You've got Solomon who then says, there's something terrifying about you. And love should be that way because, as we talked in the last session, when we open up our hearts, when we share these private things that we've shared with nobody, they now have the power to hurt us. And it is so incredible that Solomon speaks up and he says these things. He gets past the pride of it all. He gets past the ego of it all. And he says, you have me in a spot. You scare me. You could hurt me at this point. That's very good. And it's very important for us to remember, men, that our pride and our ego need to take a back seat sometimes. We need to get in a place to where we can share honestly that, this could be scary. There's moments of love where it should feel just like that. He goes on to compliment her and tells her that her cheeks are beautiful, and this is the bone structure. Her jawbone or her cheekbones are just beautiful. Women of the day used to wear little medallions, and they would hang off of their hair, onto their forehead, off onto their cheeks. And so all this jewelry that she would be adorned with, and he sees it and says, wow, you are beautiful. But then goes on even further to say, but we will make for you some that are even better because you are worth more than that. We will make earrings of gold studded with silver. And then she speaks and she says to him, while the king was at his table, my perfume spread its fragrance. My lover is to me a sacket of myrrh resting between my breast. My lover is to me a cluster of henna blossoms from the vineyards of En-Gedi. Verse 14, this phrase about a cluster of henna blossoms from the vineyards of En-Gedi. That sounds so far away and culturally disconnected from where we live. Let me see if I can bring it down to something that might make more sense, a little more applicable to us. This phrase, cluster of henna blossoms, if you do a little research, what you find out is that you planted henna around gardens. And what it did is it had this amazing root system that would form around the garden, and it would not let it be washed away. So in the deep cut ravines of the desert, they're called wadis, when the water would rise immediately and come pouring in, that water, that torrential downpour and all that flooding that could happen in the desert, when it would happen, that henna stood there to hold the garden in place. My lover is to me a cluster of henna blossoms from the vineyards of En-Gedi, holding our relationship together. You're going to see this theme that runs through the Song of Solomon about a vineyard, a vineyard, a vineyard. And it's really, really cool. She talks about the vineyard as a problem in the beginning. Solomon will say later on, let's catch the foxes who are in our vineyard. What she is saying right here is this: you are the security of this relationship. Being with you gives me such a feeling of security. Men, do you see this? When he opens up and he gets vulnerable and he says to her, you scare me a little bit because I love you so much. She feels security in that. This is what love should look like. Honesty, openness, the ability to share some very, very deep, deep secrets, and to know that you can trust that person with them. That is a wonderful thing. That is a wonderful thing. And I really appreciate her line there. My lover is to me a cluster of henna blossoms from the vineyards of En-Gedi. And then he replies by saying this: oh, how beautiful you are, my darling. Oh, how beautiful your eyes are, doves. Meaning this innocence of just what is on her heart, how pure she is at heart, comes out on her face. There is an innocence about her that he just absolutely adores. This is not this, if you go through the book of Proverbs, you will find wisdom against wisdom to help you avoid the adulterous woman. And if you read through that, what you get is she's got these eyes. And I believe it's in Proverbs, early chapters of Proverbs. She's got these eyes, these lusty eyes, or these haughty eyes, or this mouth that drips honey. And what Solomon is saying here is this, is that you have eyes like doves. Those two very unsure, very quivering type of insecure, kind of scared, always looking like they're going to just fly away immediately. She has this about her that is just so innocent. And Solomon finds so much joy in that. You are beautiful. Your eyes are doves. She replies, and you are handsome, my lover. And oh, how charming. And our bed is verdant. It means green. Our bed is growing. Our future life, this bedrock of where we live, our life together, the sexuality in our relationship is growing. Why? Why doesn't it say that he noticed that she had a great body, she noticed he had a great body, and then all of a sudden sexuality rose? It doesn't say that, because that's not how that works. It works when we get intimate on a very personal level, on an emotional level. It is then that we naturally want to share that most intimate, deep physical part of ourselves in a sexual relationship. And so she is saying, this thing is elevating. Like, I'm feeling things I have not felt before. All because of vulnerability. Men, we need to remember that. This is not about looking hot. This is not about six-pack abs. This is not going to, doing curls for the girls down at the gym. This is not about running a lot of miles, ladies, so you look great in yoga pants or something like that. This is about they got close to one another. They shared stuff with one another. And when they did, something happened. The sexuality in this relationship, this feeling began to escalate. And that's really cool. That is a really cool thing. So then he replies, and it seems so out of context, but this is what he says. The beams of our house are cedars and our rafters are firs. What he is saying is this. I have the security to take care of you. Do you see this house? Do you see the beams? Do you see the rafters? I did this. I put this together. I'm a man that is prepared to take care of you for the rest of our life. Men, that is a responsible thing. Be prepared. If you're going to tell this woman you love her, then you need to be that guy. Have a job, work, something. You need to have something in place. You cannot be that guy that's like, I love you, baby. Are you going to go get a job this week? That does not work, okay? It does not work. I probably don't need to say it, but you never know. So it's 100% him saying, I am going to take care of you. I'm going to take care of you. So don't think that I won't. I'm here. She replies, and she says something that is so cool. I am a rose of Sharon, a lily of the valleys. Okay, two things. Number one, in the desert, few things grow. One thing does, though, for sure, and it's beautiful, and it's the rose of Sharon. And so across this desert, not a whole lot of beautiful flowers, but then there is this rose of Sharon. And no matter the heat, no matter the temperature of the desert sand, no matter the amount of water, this rose of Sharon sprouts up out of the ground and stays. The lily of the valley, she says, I am a lily of the valley. In the desert, at nighttime, the temperatures drop. In the valley, it's even colder. And so when things can freeze to death in the valley, the lily does not, somehow. And so she says, I can withstand the heat and I can withstand the cold. Right after he says, I will take care of you, I have security for you. And she says, don't overdo it, buddy, because I'm pretty tough. I am here. Let me show you something else that she says. I am the rose of Sharon. I am a lily of the valley. Do you remember what she said in verse 5 of chapter 1? Dark am I. Do not look at me, because the sun has been staring at me. I have worked in the fields. My skin is rough. I'm tattered. Don't look at me. And now here she says, I am a flower. I am a rose. I am a lily. What kind of transformation must have taken place in this gal for her to all of a sudden see herself differently? Let me tell you what I think it is, and this will be the title of this session. That's this. His words are her mirror. His words are her mirror. Men, the words you speak into this woman's life is how she will see herself. It was true about her father. It was true about the other people that have been in her life. People have said things to your spouse and that have been very hurtful about the way they look, about the way they dress, about all kinds of things. Or it was a voice that was never there, and so they're very unsure. Men, it is our responsibility to speak into their life positive things. They need to know. We cannot be so self-consumed to think that they are a vending machine. We go to them to just get what we want, and we have to do nothing in return. That is not what God made marriage to be. He made marriage to be this relationship to where we are constantly taking the tools and putting them to each other and learning how to rebuild and construct one another in the likeness of Jesus Christ. And how in the world can you do that? By speaking positive words into her life. Can I tell you something about the book of Genesis? It says that God created man in his own image. But before that, it says this, that he spoke and the sun appeared. Let there be light, and there was. And so then if we are created in God's image, don't you think very similarly, if we speak positive things into other people's life, that we can actually create universes inside of them, the capacity for them to believe something else about themselves other than what they have ever believed before? Isn't it true for motivational speakers, motivational life coaches, even sports coaches, team leaders, who they get everybody pumped up, they get everybody excited about we can do this, we can do this, we can do this. And even if they are not the best team, they somehow succeed because they believed in the whole unit on its own. They believed in what the leader said. Men, our responsibility is to speak into those women's life and to say, you are a great mother. You are a great wife. You are a wonderful wonderful lover. You are a wonderful person. You are a fantastic nurse. You are a fantastic secretary. You are a fantastic student. You are one of the best teachers I've ever known. And when you begin to get in the habit of speaking into their life like that, you know what you'll do? You'll create a mirror, and they will see themselves as you say they are. If you want them to think horrible things about themselves, then do not compliment them and run them down as often as you can. And I promise you, what you will get is that very same thing living in your house. A big ball of negativity that's inwardly pointed, that's only concerned about itself, and who will at some point go seek validation elsewhere away from you. Our responsibility is to continually speak into their life. Our words become their mirror. So cool. I said two things. A third one. She says, I am a rose of Sharon, a lily of the valley. And then he comes right back into it in verse 2 of chapter 2. And then he says this, like a lily among thorns is my darling among the maidens. He finishes her sentence and ups the ante. She says, I feel like a rose. I feel like a lily. And he says, listen, you are so much more than all of that. Like you are so much better than all the other women. Men, listen, if we will take the time and just be spiritually disciplined to speak kind things into our wife's life, I promise you it will make for such a wonderful environment in the future. We're going to cut out of here, and we're going to upload some more sessions at a later date. But right now, that will be it. We'll get to them quickly. So thank you for watching this. Thank you for letting me be a part of what's going on in your life and in your marriage. I'll be praying for your marriages. I'll be praying for your wedding days and all the things that you have coming up that are so exciting. Honeymoons, all these wonderful things. So have a good day. Thanks for watching.